I was stabbed. I was left to bleed while my ex-husband took 3 of my kids in the car and drove off. Domestic violence is not just physical. It's not just a bruise on the outside that you can take to the police station and show, look what he's done. It's bruised all over your heart, all over your soul, and all over your mind. We want happiness so bad, and we want the fairy tale so much that sometimes we become blind to what control is versus what romance is. I met him, I was only 18. We met at the cinema, and after the movie he offered me a lift home. I agreed. He was good looking, he was charming. But the next day when I called him, he said to me, you know, after you went in, I sat outside of the house for half an hour just to make sure that that's where you lived. And if you didn't call me, I would have gone and knocked on every door in that building to find you. At that time, I thought it was romantic. He knew exactly what to say. He had everybody fooled. We got engaged after 4 weeks of knowing each other. We got married 8 months into a relationship and I was 3 months pregnant. After we got married, he said, quit your studies. You don't need to go to school, you don't need to learn anything. I will be the provider, you'll never have to work a day in your life. Again, to a 19-year-old, thinking that's great. But what if we got divorced? How would I provide for my family and for my children? I don't think I could ever do anything right. I would wait for him outside on the steps of the house for him to come home because I felt that that's what he wanted. But as I stood on those steps, I would go through a checklist in my head. Did I do this? That? And I thought that I did it all, but when he would come home, he would find something to get upset about. My self-esteem became really low. I was scared to do something wrong. I was scared to say something wrong. I doubted myself all the time. I always thought that it was my fault and something that I did, and if I removed myself from the relationship, him and the children would be better off. I've run away a few times. I've even jumped on a plane and I flew to a different state. I was suicidal and I wanted to end my life. The last time I left, he sent a message to my dad. Can you get Natalia to call me? And I looked at it for a very long time, trying to contemplate what should I do. I do have an AVO against him, but maybe, just maybe, I've overreacted. We met up. He was listening, he was understanding, he was caring, he was everything I wanted him to be. He looked at something behind me. I turned around to see what it was. And when I turned back, just bang! Out of nowhere, a massive, massive punch to the face. And then he kept going and kept going and kept going. And as I was lying on the ground and I looked up because he stopped and I saw the knife coming right into me, I turned over, it went into my shoulder and I screamed and screamed on top of my lungs. He got in the car and he drove off with the children. He was found, arrested, and the children were taken away. You leave when it is literally scarier to stay at home than to live on the street. When people ask me why didn't you leave sooner? When he's standing in front of you after all the abuse and everything all the pain that he's caused you, all you could see is the image of a person you fell in love with. All the dreams and all the plans, it's there. And letting go of it, that's what heartbreak feels like. Not to mention, I have no savings. He gave me a certain amount of money to spend in a certain amount of time. So you couldn't save up, you couldn't put aside. I had no support. Where am I going to take 3 children? Domestic violence, it's not over when you leave. It's not over when the court is done. And it's not even over when your kids are grown up. It stays with you forever.